Welcome to Talking Mopars, episode number 153. On this episode, we have the returns of Project Car of the Week, high performance parts, and listener stories. And to close out the show, I'm going to talk about my new Roadrunner project and the latest challenge that I've accepted. And I know what you're thinking. Chris, the No Name Nationals challenge didn't really work out too well for you, so why don't you go ahead and sit this one out? And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't agree with you, but this challenge is different from the nature of the challenge itself all the way to the nature of the project itself and my approach to it. So we're going to talk about what my current battle plan for the Roadrunner is, and we'll discuss Musclecars at the Strip and the little sideshow exhibition that I'm thrilled to be a part of and that I hope my Roadrunner is a part of that we're calling Project Cars at the Strip. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, and I am your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
Man, you guys, what a week. SEMA is in full swing right now, and I gotta say, I am actually disappointed that I'm not there this year. I know that last year when I was there, it was a little disappointing to me in the fact that I was hoping to see more classic Mopars, and I really didn't. And I was just overwhelmed with the amount of lifted trucks and stuff that I saw there, and Jeeps. And I had known and I had heard from other people that have gone that SEMA is one of those things where, you know, you owe it to yourself to go at least once. And I should have known during the pandemic that it wasn't going to be what it had been in the past. But I mean, I had a great time. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed myself, but I was really hoping to see more Mopars there. And from the pictures that I've been seeing on social media of this year's SEMA, it seems to me like things are pretty much back in full swing. And there was quite a few Mopar builds that I didn't see last year. So part of me is, you know, I went on a lot of trips this year, so I'm not mad that I didn't get to go to SEMA because I couldn't afford the vacation time. But I am disappointed that the cars that were there this year weren't there last year because I didn't see a wing car last year. There was a lot of things I didn't see that I wish I had seen, and I saw some pretty cool builds there this year. So I'm happy that a lot of people that I know are going or are at SEMA right now and enjoying themselves and sharing all the pictures and all the content that they're getting. I think that's really cool. But I have other things I need to do. You know, to be honest, if I could have went, I may have gone. But I told myself at the beginning of this year, and actually shortly after my last trip to SEMA, that I was like, all right, you know, if I don't go to another SEMA, I guess I can say at least I went once, you know. But after seeing some of those pictures, you know, I kind of wish I would have went this year. But you know, it is what it is. Next year, I've got a really big year next year, so I'm not even sure I'm going to make SEMA next year. But, you know, after seeing some of the things I saw today, I'm like, maybe I have to make it happen. I'm not quite sure, but there's a couple standout builds for me that I've seen at SEMA so far, and one of them is this amazing A108 Dodge van. The thing is absolutely gorgeous, and this van was built by Goolsby Customs, and I'm not really too familiar with their builds, but they're calling this one Fantasy. Like I said, it's an A108 window van, and it's amazing. It's slammed on Steelies and poverty caps, and it is just a great looking van. It's two-tone, and it's got a Gen 3 Hemi in it, so that was a really cool build. And then I did notice that there were a couple wing cars there. I don't have much details on any of those, but they're definitely cars that I like to see. So those are some builds that I wish I had seen. A lot of people are posting pictures of the Electrolight, which is that satellite that has been converted to a Tesla drivetrain. I believe it's a Tesla drivetrain, which always sparks a heated debate. You know, I think it's a great build. I think it's cool. You know, do I wish it had a Hemi in it or something? Sure. But, you know, there's plenty of Mopars out there with big blocks and Gen 3 swaps, and to see someone go completely outside the box with a Tesla swap is cool. Is it my flavor? Not necessarily. I don't know. I'm still on the And that's another thing. A lot of EV stuff again at this year's SEMA, which was to be expected. Dodge had a public, I guess it's really, I can't really call it public because it is SEMA. But they had more people see the Banshee than they've had previously. And from what I understand, Bud Kleppy from the Scat Pack Club and Cartech Books, he was there and he was saying that they have this little booth that you can go into and basically give Dodger feedback on the sound of this car. So I thought that was interesting. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the car in person, from people that have seen it like up close and personal. But I'm still, it's a cool car. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I don't think that Dodge did a decent job at their first EV. Um, I still have a hard time calling it a muscle car. Um, it's that's going to be one that's really going to be hard for me, and I know it's going to be hard for a lot of you. But I don't want to, you know, I feel like I've come off as a hater. You know what I mean? And I don't want to. I don't want to feel like like I'm hating on Dodge. They're doing what they got to do to stick with the times, but you know, they did have a bunch of direct connection crate engines, that make the Elephant look petty. You're talking over 1,000 horsepower. There was a 1,500 horsepower crate Hemi that you could get. So that's really cool. And I think that offsets a little bit of this push for EV and electrification. But, it is what it is. The car, it's going to be cool for an EV. If I have to buy an EV, I'm going to have to stick with the Dodge. I hope it beats a Tesla. I don't think it will, but I really am rooting for Dodge to win the EV game. If that's the course they're heading, I'm a Mopar enthusiast, so I'm going to support and stay loyal to my brand, even though they do things that I don't necessarily agree with. But that's why I'm not a corporate guy. That's why I'm talking on a podcast where where the corporate overlords don't, have a say in what I say. Okay. So, as far as the design of the car, there's some things that I would change, but there's some things that I think they did really well. I like the lights. I wasn't too crazy about the R wing at first, which is the wing that is essentially integrated into the front end and hood. But looking at it some more, it doesn't look that bad. The roof line is what really messes me up with that car. The roof line, and I think they could have done a better job with the wheels, but I'm just nitpicking. But they had it at SEMA in a different color, and they had it on drag radials on all four wheels. So they're trying to appeal to the enthusiast market, and I get it, and the performance market, and I get it. But it's going to be a hard sell for a lot of us Mopar enthusiasts. But the good news is there's still plenty of Mopar projects out there. And with that being said, I guess we need to get into Project Car of the Week. I know a lot of people have been asking for the old format, and I told you guys I'd sprinkle it in here and there. And we're gonna do Project Car of the Week, high performance parts, and we got a listener voicemail, so we're gonna play that. It's gonna be a good episode. So let's get into Project Car of the Week. All right, guys, it's time for Project Car of the Week. Since it's been so long since we did Project Car of the Week, I've got two of them here for you. They're kind of, they are projects. One of them is a lot worse off than the other, but it's considerably cheaper. So we're going to talk about both of them. So the first one is a 1968 Plymouth Satellite that is in California, Hawthorne, California. And the ad's pretty simple. It's a 68 Plymouth Satellite, two-door hardtop, 318 with an automatic, power steering and power brakes, factory AC car, runs good, straight body with some rust around the rear window and quarter panel, great floor pan, all original, great project car. This is all fine and dandy. Sounds good. The guy wants $7,200 for it. Apparently it has a clean title. So my first impression looking at the front of the car, the grille looks pretty solid. A little banged up around the headlights, but no big deal. The hood is a pin-on hood, at least in the front. But the front of the car looks decently solid. Bumper looks okay. It is a satellite. It's got fender-mounted turn signals. The driver's side of the car looks fairly straight. Roof looks pretty straight. So far, I'm not too mad at this car. Passenger side looks reasonably straight as well. Not too bad. Same with the roof on the passenger side and the pillars. Everything looks okay, for a project. Picture of the rear here. The tail panel looks good. The rear bumper's rusty, but those can be replaced, no problem. Um, Deck lid is okay. And the rear quarter panels appear to be okay from what I can see. I'm sure the lowers need to be replaced, but I haven't seen a picture of that yet. I can see a little bit of the rust that the guy's talking about around the rear window, so it'll need a Dutchman panel. This next picture here is on the inside of the driver's side, and it appears that this car was originally like a yellow. Interior seems to be all there. It's got a bench seat. It's column shifted column shifted automatic. Door handles are there. Door cards are there. Look, factory radios there. Carpets in this thing. Headliners there. Picture of the back seat. Back seat looks pretty damn clean. All the seat belts are in the car. Headliner is in it, like I said. All the interior is here, guys. It's got the original steering wheel in it. Another picture of the back seat. This looks like you would expect, or you would hope, that a muscle car that has sat outside most of his life would look like when you went to save it. You see so many of these cars that are missing so much stuff that it's like, damn it. You got to pretty much order everything out of the Legendary catalog. You know what I mean? So this one is, I'm pretty impressed with how together this car is. It's been painted black at some point. The black's all faded. Front seat looks to be in really good shape. Actually really impressed with this thing. Picture of under the hood. It does have a fiberglass hood, and it looks like it was a pin on in the front, and it looks like it was bolted to the hinges, and it looks like when they pulled the hood up, the fiberglass just ripped away. So needs a new hood. You can replace it with another fiberglass one. Everything in the engine compartment looks, I mean, it's there. The engine is pretty complete. The AC is still in it. This would be the perfect candidate if you got a big block laying around, or you got a hopped up little small block, toss it in this thing. It looks ready to go. It's not a hodgepodge of wiring. Obviously you're going to have to change all the hoses and stuff like that, but the windshield washer bottle obviously is cracked to shit, but that's to be expected. It looks like, what do we got here? Yeah, that is a fiberglass hood. Next picture we have is the trunk. It still has, it looks like the original trunk mat in it. So we can't see what the actual trunk floor looks like. Now, around the rear window and the front part of the trunk rail, the gutter on both corners looks to be a little rotted. But the inside of the trunk doesn't look too bad. I'm pretty impressed with this car so far. I wish we got a better look at the trunk. Looks like he's got some spare parts in there. Maybe some weather stripping. It's got the spare tire and the spare tire jack. And 4 of the original hubcaps. I believe those are the originals. And it looks like another gauge cluster in the antenna. Overall, this car is pretty complete. And, considering how old it is, it's pretty solid. It's not like this next car I'm gonna share with you guys in a minute after this one. But the guy wants, what does he want for it? $7,200. It was just posted 2 days ago. He claims to have 120,000 miles on it. He says it runs good. So, I mean, here we're looking at a running and driving 68 B body. It is just a satellite, but it's a B body nonetheless. That is fairly complete. I mean, you get this thing running and sort out any safety issues, and you're off to the races. I would say $7,200. If you could get this thing for $4 or $5 grand, you're winning all day. But $7,200, it's pretty solid. It's a good starting point for just a ratty Mopar, or if you wanted to build a Roadrunner clone. At this point, I'd say just keep it a Rattlite. Everybody that's got a ratty satellite calls it a Rattlite. So we'll go with that for this one. This is the old Rattlite. Um, I like it. 7,200. Of course you're talking to me, so of course we don't want to pay that. But if he didn't want to budge, I would try to get somewhere. You know, I wouldn't want to pay 7,000 for it because I'm a cheap bastard. You guys know this by now. Um, but again, all the interior is there. It runs. He doesn't say it drives, so I imagine you got to do some brake work and things like that. But I mean, just knowing that it runs, and you can move this thing around, hopefully, um, is good. And it is a good sign that he does have a spare tire and the original jack in the back. So, along with the original trunk mat. So this car wasn't, other than the fiberglass hood, I wouldn't question, if this car was really beat on, because it is pretty solid. It's a California car too. So I imagine that any rust underneath it is pretty minimal. Uh, so yeah, if you could get this thing for 4 or 5 grand, dude, you're winning. Maybe even cheaper. But if he's at 72, something tells me he's probably gonna hold that price for a while, but he'll probably go mid high 6,000, I would imagine. Which in my opinion would be a good buy. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my thumbs up for this project. You can find it on Craigslist in the Los Angeles area. It's in Hawthorne, like I said. But yeah, it says in paint color it's green, but I don't see green. That looks like a faded black to me. But the original color is in the engine bay. At least I think that's the original color. It's like a canary yellow. Um, but yeah, I would say this would be a fun one to rat out and just have some fun with. Um, it's not so beat where it's a complete piece of shit, but it's not so nice that you're afraid to beat the hell out of it. You know what I mean? It's perfect. So yeah, 2 thumbs up on this one for the 1968 Plymouth Satellite that runs with a complete interior in Hawthorne, California. Next up, this ad immediately caught my eye because the title of the ad, the headline is "Cheapest Roadrunner on the Market for $1,999." And this sad Roadrunner is in Magnolia, Texas. Let's read this ad. So, will not respond to, is this still available? If interested, send me your telephone number and I'll call you. I love those ones. Will not respond to, is this available? Because you always get that when you're selling shit, right? Real 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 383 automatic hardtop car. No title, no fender tag, but both can be had. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that one. He says, really fugly with typical rust that these cars usually suffer from, but the main structural frame parts are solid. That's a good thing, right? He says it looks to be originally green with black interior. We'll need a full floor, but under the rear seat pan is still in great shape. We'll need both full quarters, deck filler panel, and a roof skin, but amazingly, the trunk floor is still good. Both doors and fenders will need some work, but are usable. Windshield channels will need work, but lower A-pillars are solid. All 4 frame rails and torsion bar crossmember look good. No glass, no seats, no motor, no trans. If you don't see it in the pics, I don't have it. Vehicle is available for inspection by appointment only. I have tried to describe this vehicle's condition to the best of my ability, but there is no accounting for individual taste. I urge you to inspect the car prior to buying or send someone to act as your agent. Okay, so no title, no fender tag. I can already tell by this first picture that this thing is a rough. So it does have a Roadrunner hood, front fender. It doesn't look too bad. Door does look usable. Definitely needs quarters. Definitely needs a roof. This thing is missing everything on the inside. The passenger side looks even worse. Front fender on the passenger side looks usable, but door looks looks a lot worse in the corners than the driver's side. Again, needs a full rear quarter, full quarters on both sides, and a roof skin, and definitely the Dutchman panel. I can see in his picture he's got a nice garage setup here. He must be a Mopar guy, and I see another 69 Roadrunner in his garage. So I imagine he bought this thing for parts because it is stripped to the bone. It does have the Roadrunner hood. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Yeah, this thing is hammered. Wow. It's been a while since I've seen a Dutchman panel to look like that. Yeah, this thing needs to be stripped all the way down to its guts. Not that it isn't already there. It's pretty much a shell. Um, wow, front end. Let's see if we can see any I don't see any damage to the front. The passenger side fender has been replaced, so that brings up some questions. But everything looks straight from what I can see in the picture. A little rough. Definitely needs to be blasted. Um, deck lid, it's a little banged up. Yeah, this thing's seen some better days, unfortunately. Taillights look to be good. Taillight trim rings look to be good. um, the the trunk pan, he wasn't lying, is absolutely solid in this thing. Wow, I'm impressed. That's probably the most solid part of this car. Engine compartment, it definitely was originally a green car. Engine compartment is completely stripped down. I don't see any visible damage to the inner passenger side fender well, so the fender must have been replaced because it got crunched, but it doesn't look like it affected anything in here. Some of these cars you see rot right through the firewall, so this one doesn't appear to have that. Interior, everything's gone. Everything. This thing is stripped to the bone. I think the only thing you got in here is the dash pad. Floors, yeah, you're definitely going to want to replace the floor in it. I mean, this thing, you better call AMD. You know what I mean? You need everything for this thing. Under the rear floor pan that is below the rear seat looks really solid. I like that. That's good. But yeah, you're going to want to replace the floor pan. It does have the VIN on the dash. But yeah, this Roadrunner is definitely rough, but it is a real Roadrunner. And it's $2,000. He doesn't say he's firm on the price. Maybe he'll take, $1,200, maybe $1,000. Likely, I would imagine you could probably get this car for around $1,700. The thing is a complete pile. But, this is one of those cases where maybe you're, low on cash, but maybe you got skills with a welder. This might be a good place to start. As you're cutting away all this old metal, you can save up for the new metal. And, some people, I see a lot of cars get criticized, right? Where you see a car and it's hammered, and it's a complete project. And there's going to be so much money and time invested in it that to the person with some money, they're going to go, what a waste of time and money. Why would I buy that thing for $2,000? That pile of shit. Why would I buy that when I have to order every piece of metal that AMD offers, basically, and it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to get this thing back on the road? Why would I do that? Then on the other side of the coin, you've got the guy who's, maybe a little bit low on cash. He can't go out and buy a $50,000 Roadrunner that's running and driving in a decent driver quality condition. And I just threw that number out there. You could probably find one for 25 or 30 grand. But, this is one of those situations where, maybe he wants something in his garage that he can just work on. Maybe he's got it. Maybe the wife's got it out for him and he'd rather just spend all his time in the garage. So he needs something, a huge project to keep him out of the house. This would be perfect for that. It would be the perfect car for if he just wanted to start hacking away at it, and then maybe along the line he finds a cheap 69B body that he can use as a donor that maybe isn't a real Roadrunner, that's maybe a satellite or a Belvedere. There's options for people that don't have, the deepest pockets to have that initial investment of 20 to 30 grand, to get themselves a solid car. Maybe they can only afford a complete shitbox like this one. And I say shitbox with love. You guys know that. If I had $2,000 and the skills, I might buy this thing just to hone those skills a little bit. These types of cars don't scare me. Even though it is a complete pile and it would cost so much money to get it back together, I've seen these comments and I agree with them wholeheartedly. These people that fire back at the guys that talk shit about these types of cars and say, why would I buy that car? It's never going to be worth what I put into it. But then there's the people that just say, hey, maybe people just want to work on a car and they don't care. And that's kind of how I am. I mean, I don't have that much money to be throwing around. So, maybe that's why I'm in that category. But, a car like this doesn't scare me at all. I go, $2,000 for a Roadrunner, shit. I don't even think about how much money I would have to put into the car. Maybe that's my downfall. But I'll tell you what, I'll probably have a lot of fun just hacking away at it. You know what I mean? 2 grand to have a good time? Shit. I've spent more for less, you know? Uh, so when I see a car like this, I don't, even though, upon first sight, you're like, whoa, walk away from that thing. I go, man, they make everything for that car. And I've seen so many donor cars for reasonable prices that, it might make it worth it, especially if you've got the VIN tag still. No title, a title can be had. Might be a little tricky, but you can get it. No fender tag, who gives a shit? Let's build this thing the way we want to build it, right? So that's why when I look at a $2,000 complete rust bucket, it doesn't scare me and I don't immediately start talking it down. I look at it and I go, okay, $2,000, what am I getting? I might be getting a car that I can hone some skills, hone some skills on. And if I mess up on this car, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But definitely uh, a great project for maybe a younger person. Maybe there's a young guy or gal out there that just wants a Mopar. Damn it, I have no problems with that. Damn it, I hate the people that will talk shit about people like that. Let them get a cheap Mopar and just have some fun. Oh, they lose 2 grand because they realize it's too big of a project. They'll probably sell it for 2 grand to somebody else. You know what I mean? And hopefully they gain a couple skills along the way. So that's the type of guy I am. No Mopar left behind. Okay? That was Project Cars of the Week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really love Project Car of the Week. I think I should start doing, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but I really want to start doing Project Car of the Week more often with maybe video content. Maybe I'll do one car a day or something. But the problem with that kind of a commitment is that I can't just talk for 5 minutes. You guys know me by now. But I'm going to figure something out maybe we'll do it on the show and then I'll just do videos as I can. And then obviously there's the bonus content for subscribers. So they're definitely going to be getting some more Project Cars of the Week type thing where we just go Craigslist hunting because that's always fun. But to be honest with you, Craigslist is pretty dead right now. Facebook Marketplace seems to be the place. So I'll be looking at Facebook Marketplace, eBay some more, and just Mopar hunting in general because I love it. All right? That was Project Cars of the Week. All right, my friends, it's time once again for high performance parts. Now, for those of you new to the show, this isn't about actual automotive parts, technically. It's actually about Mopars seen on film and television. And I was recently watching a Liam Neeson movie. It's brand new. It just came out this year. It's called Blacklight. And the tagline in it is, of course, it shows Liam Neeson with a gun in his right hand, and he's looking all ominous. And the tagline is, "They're gonna need more men." But Neeson plays a guy named Travis Block, who's a covert government operative, and he's obviously got some stuff in his past, and he's done some shady work for the government. But he basically uncovers this conspiracy and ends up going against the director of the FBI, who basically he was the contract killer for that guy. And he drives a Hellcat Red Eye, a Challenger in this movie, and he drives the hell out of it. So I do think it's funny that Dodge has put so many of their cars in all of these movies. And it's like, how many of these heroes got to drive a Dodge? You know what I mean? But it's cool being a Mopar guy, but it's just funny to me now. Now I find it comical whenever I see an action movie and it's got a bunch of Dodges in it. I think it's hilarious. But it was a fun movie to watch. I like Liam Neeson, even though those movies are kind of corny, that like super cliche, but they're fun to watch. And it was fun seeing them really tear up. And it could have been a Dodge commercial, the way he was driving this damn car. But I thought it was fun, and it's always fun to see a Mopar on screen. So, this segment's always really short. It used to be a little bit longer, but, it's a Mopar show. I don't need to talk about a movie for too long or a TV show or a music video for too long. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's this week's high performance part. The 2022 Hellcat Red Eye wide body featured as the hero car in Blacklight, starring Liam Neeson. All right, my friends, it's been a while since we did listener stories, and it's been a while since I've gotten any emails or voicemails. I'm gonna have to check my email, make sure they didn't get buried like they usually do. Uh, you guys have the same problem. I got like 12,000 emails, and I'm like, how much of this is spam? And then I realize how many times I've subscribed to certain parts manufacturers and how much they spam me. So now I got to go through 12,000 emails and see which ones I need to keep. But sometimes the messages get buried in my email. So if I haven't answered you, a good sign that I haven't seen your message is that I didn't answer you. If I hadn't replied in an email, then reach back out to me and go, "Hey Chris, what's up, dude? I sent an email back on this day, and I'll do my best to try to find it because of course I want to play it on the show. So if you send me an email, I'll read it on the show. But if you call my voicemail box at 209-28 Mopar, I'll play your message on the show, and that's what we have here today. Let's check out this listener story.
Hey, Chris. My name's Wes, and I'm from California. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my Mopar journey. Started with trucks. I was looking at cars when I was 16, but my dad's one rule was it kind of had to be a slant six car because the V8s were just too hard on fuel, being a high school kid and not being able to afford that. So we were looking at some cars, some darts, some A-bodies, but an 83 pickup came up, and we went to go look at it. It was a slant six truck with a overdrive 4-speed instead of a granny 4-speed. It was a single cab, short bed, 2-wheel drive, really cool truck. Started with that. It was root beer brown with like a tan interior. Really nice truck, but with California, all the emissions and stuff, it ended up being a truck I didn't really want to hold on to just because I couldn't put a V8 in it at any point. And I started getting into rock crawlers at the time, Toyotas, stuff like that. Started building that stuff, and eventually I realized I needed something to tow those vehicles around with. And when I started looking at diesels, I thought it was pretty cool that you could get that first-gen body style with a Cummins in it, and that kind of got me right back into it, into the trucks. I ended up finding a 90 single cab long bed, 4-wheel drive, 5-speed truck, base model, million miles ranch truck. All the body panels were different colors. And I actually bought that thing, drove it from California to North Carolina, went to school out there for a few years. And as much as I love that truck, it kind of, the body was falling apart. It had a million miles. Everything was breaking. And anytime I do any performance upgrades, something else would break. So I kind of started looking at donor trucks, something I could just yank all the body panels off because none of the doors lined up. And I had a guy paint it just to make it one color, but you could see all the wavies, and the bed was torqued down to one way, and the tailgate didn't line up anymore. And it was pretty ugly. It looked nice from driving by, but it was pretty bad. And when I was looking for a donor truck, I came across an 81 crew cab. It was obviously a 4-door. It was a short bed, 2-wheel drive with a 360 and a 4-speed. And I ended up picking that thing up and looking for a donor for that. And just recently I found a 93, so the last year of the first gen. It was an LE extended cab, so the same wheelbase, 4-wheel drive, manual, really cool truck, tan interior, which is what I wanted, factory tack, all kinds of options, all beat to hell, the body. And I picked that thing up, and I'm currently swapping the crew cab from a 2-wheel drive gas to a 4-wheel drive diesel. And I just wanted to call because I know you're always talking about tanks being great projects, and this has been a great project for me. As much as I love the cars, I've just always ended up with the trucks. And if you can, man, tell a little bit of history about. I know there's with the swept lines, there's the Dude, the Warlocks, the Ranch Hand, I think, is a tin grill, and then even into the first gens, there's like the Prospector, a bunch of cool options for the trucks. So tell us a little bit about that. And for a high performance part, don't forget that movie Fuel with the Valiant. That's a really good one. So thanks for doing what you're doing, man. It's an awesome podcast, and I love listening to it.
Hey, Weston, thanks for sending in your story, buddy. It's great to hear that you got a Mopar truck project. As you mentioned, I have said in the past that I think Mopar trucks make amazing projects, whether it's the swept lines, um, the old Swepties, tin grills. Obviously, I love tin grills. First gen Rams, even second gen Rams, and obviously you have the modern stuff now too. I really think the second gen Rams are gonna really start hitting really hard, especially with like the Chevy trucks getting into, people are starting to, C10s are still getting built, but people are really going for the boxier style of the 90s for they call them the OBS, the old body style. And I really think that second gen Rams are about to take off again. And you can still find nice, clean, short beds. I really like the SST trucks. I would love to get my hands on a Ram SST someday. That would be awesome. But the reason why I'm such a advocate for Mopar truck projects is because they're still entry level. They're not like Chargers and Roadrunners and stuff like that and Cudas. You can still get the Mopar trucks for a reasonable price, and you have a lot of options. You can go, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And even the modern trucks, there's so much you can do to a modern truck. Like I got myself, I have a 2016 Ram Sport, and there's so much stuff I could do to it, but I'm not really that into really going crazy on the modern stuff. That's just my preference. They're more daily drivers for me. But obviously I love tin grill trucks. I'd love to get another one. First gen Rams. I think the best ones, and this is just me being honest, I think the best Mopar truck projects to get into are either first generation Rams or second generation Rams. And I'm leaning more towards the second generation Rams now because they're so prevalent in wrecking yards. First gen Rams for a long time, there were so many, but they're starting to get picked through and they're starting to get crushed. But the second gen Rams, you can still find a lot of parts for them. And I would really love to have a Ram SST. Someday I'll find a nice Ram SST project. But yeah, any of the Mopar trucks are good projects. The older you get, the harder it is to find parts. But even with the tin grills, it's hard to find a really straight tin grill. I traded one. I'm kind of regretting that. Just because I wish I could have just bought the Roadrunner. I wish I had the cash. And I thought about that when I made the trade. I was like, God, if I had the cash, I'd just buy this car and keep my truck. But I'm excited for the next truck build that I do. It's just a matter of figuring out what I want. Do I want to build a Ram SST, a second gen Ram SST? That would be really cool. A first gen, I'm not opposed to finding a nice first gen. I do love tin grill trucks, and I would love to get another one someday. It's just not in the cards right now. But definitely we'll have another Mopar truck in the future. They make great projects. I will take that to the grave. I will say that should be on my headstone. It should say Mopar trucks make great projects. But gosh, I miss my diesel too. I had an '01 Ram 2500, short bed, black on black. Unfortunately, it was an automatic, but it was leveled on 35s, and it was an amazing. I just love that truck. I love second gen Rams, and that truck, with the Cummins in it. God, I miss that truck. But Cummins diesels are really fun to play around with. My buddy Spiker's got a Common Rail 5.9, and he's got compound turbos on it. And this thing, I think he launches it in four-wheel drive at the track, and it runs 12s. You know what I mean? So diesels are cool. I'm not really one of those. Oh gosh, the brodozer guys. I'm really not a brodozer guy. Like, you won't catch me not pulling a trailer and having my tow mirrors up. My truck doesn't even have tow mirrors. But with the big deep dish wheels with the rubber band mud tires, that's not my style. I like a little bit more subtle, especially like I had my 2012 Ram was lifted 6 inches with 35s and 20s on it. That got old really quick. My truck that I have now, the 2016 Ram Sport 1500, with the 5.7 in it. It's got some 20s on it, and I think it might have a leveling kit, but it's nothing crazy at all. It's pretty stockish as far as height goes, and I'm happy with it. My 2012 just it started handling like poop. You know what I mean? I really didn't enjoy it that much. And I don't go off road, so I really don't need a lift kit. Now, if that's your thing, that's cool. I like lowered trucks, especially when I get into the older stuff. That said, I would love to have a lifted Ram Charger. I think that would be cool. But anyways, Mopar trucks are awesome. The diesels are awesome. The V8s are awesome. Slant 6, you know, it is what it is. Obviously, you're not going to be winning any NHRA championships with a Slant 6, but to each their own. Whatever trucks you're into, Mopar trucks, you can definitely find something for everybody. You did mention special edition trucks, which off the top of my head, I mean, let's go over some of the ones. You've got the Little Red Express, that's obvious. You've got the Midnight Express. You've got the Warlocks, the trucks with the snow plows. You've got the Snow Fighter and the Snow Commander. Let's see here, obviously the Macho Power Wagons. You've got the True Spirits, the Southbounder, the Bighorn. I think there was a Palomino, the Californian. I feel like there's more. I'm trying to think. Oh, gosh. There's one on the tip of my tongue, and I'm trying to figure out what was it? Come on, Chris. You got the Prospector. I really don't think the Prospector is a special edition. I think that's more of like a trim package, which I really wouldn't consider it a special edition. But I'm sure there's more, and I'm sure that there's some truck guys out there screaming into their phones right now, "You idiot, you forgot this one and this one." But gosh, the Top Hand. Gosh, what other ones are there? I think the Top Hand was one. I'm really having a brain fart here. I don't even remember the ones I've said so far. Gosh, like I say, hey, if there's any truck experts that have all the rare, hard to find packages and stuff and graphics packages in their mind, and you want to come on the show, or you want to leave me a message and tell me which ones I missed, please let me know, because I'm just going off the top of my head. I cannot think of any other ones. I would have to really do some more research on that, because I don't want to talk out of line. But I think I got them all. I think. With the older trucks, like the swept lines and stuff, and the 60s trucks, and early 70s. I don't know if they were year specific, but I remember the Dude. There was the Dude edition. And I'm sure there's more, when you talk about the old stuff. Feel free. I think there's one that I feel like I'm missing, and it would be a super easy one. Gosh, did I say Midnight Express? I think I said Midnight Express. The Warlocks in there. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I know there's a lot of special edition trucks, but God, I'm sure I'm missing something. Now it's gonna bother me. Maybe we'll do a special episode on these so many different types of special edition trucks. And that was the old stuff, like I said, you got that from the second gens, you got the SST, gosh, and then the newer stuff, you got the SRT 10s and the Rumblebees and the Daytona truck. They even had like a Little Red Express Dakota. And then you got the Dakota, Shelby Dakotas. Gosh, man, brain farting right now. Gosh, we could have a whole episode just going through all the different. I feel like that would be 2 hours of just naming the different packages that Dodge offered for their trucks. So yeah, I'm sure like I said, I'm sure there's somebody out there screaming at their phone. So if you're out there screaming at your phone, let me know which ones I missed. Um, you also mentioned the movie Duel, uh, which is an honorable mention for high performance parts, where the truck's like chasing the guy in the Valiant or whatever. On that note, Weston, thank you once again for sending in your story. I really appreciate it. And for those of you out there that have not sent in your stories yet, you can either do it by email or my preference by leaving me a voice message on my voicemail box at 20928 Mopar, and I will play your message on the show. Thanks again, Weston. That was Listener Stories. All right, guys, if you remember, earlier this year, Dustin from Dutch Guy's Garage on YouTube called me out for the No Name Nationals. So I went out and I got myself a 73 Roadrunner POS, a ratty shitbox. I called it the dumpster fire, and I was going to build it to take to the No Name Nationals. I was going to trailer the car all the way to Sikeston, Missouri from my house in Washington, and hopefully get one pass in against Dustin and see what happened. But it just didn't work out with the fuel prices. It was going to cost me like, roughly $3,000 just to make the trip, in fuel costs. And parts were hard to get, and it just didn't work out. So you can imagine what was going to, and I had to back out. If any of you were following that challenge, I ended up throwing in the towel. I was investing, the point I threw in the towel, I was already, around a few grand in, and I still didn't have, the plan was to buy a trailer. I still didn't have a trailer, and I was still waiting on parts for this car, and it just wasn't going as planned. So I forfeited. I was wrong to take the challenge in the first place, especially when I didn't have a car. Dustin called me out when I didn't even have a car to take to this challenge. So it was a comedy of errors, is what it really was. But you can imagine the first thought that came to my mind when my friend Mike Coffey reached out to me at work one day and asked me if I thought that my Roadrunner, my new Roadrunner, the 72, because I did end up selling the 73 and buying a car trailer with the money. But you can imagine what my reaction was at first, like what my first thought was when Mike Coffey asked me if I was going to be done with my Roadrunner, if it was going to be on the road in time for Musclecars at the Strip in March of 2023, and that's in Las Vegas. And I was like, in my head, I was like, man, that's the last thing I need is more pressure, because I have so much stuff going on. I just finished remodeling my house, and then we had a bad windstorm, and it blew I just got done finishing the remodel downstairs in my house, and because I had a whole issue with the pipe bursting and all this stuff, so we had to put in new floors. And anyways, so we get all that done, and on Friday there's a horrible windstorm and it knocks my fence over. So now I have something else I need to do, which is a pain in the ass. But this all happened after I had talked to Mike Coffey, and nothing would have really changed. This situation that I'm in now really didn't change anything. But in my head, I was like, man, the last thing I need is another challenge to put pressure on me. And I realized that pressure was already there on myself, because I told myself I wanted to have that Roadrunner on the road by next show season. So when he asked me if I thought it would be running by Musclecars at the Strip, I had to say yes, because that's ideally about the time that I was planning to get the car on the road anyway, because it was supposed to be my winter project, and it is my winter project. Kind of along with the van. I'm kind of juggling two projects again, with the van being less critical. But I accepted his challenge, and what happened was the challenge evolved. It went from just Mike Coffey and I and a couple of our other friends. We got our friend Jeff, and then of course Johnny Mopar, and then it's been branching out rapidly. So now we have people with all types of cars. It's not just Mopars accepting the Project Cars at the Strip challenge. And I don't really think that we intended for it to become like official, but because I'm friends with Phil Painter, the mastermind behind Project Cars at the Strip, I felt it was only appropriate to reach out to him and see if he was okay with us using his platform as like a launch pad for this, sideshow exhibition. And we coined it Project Cars at the Strip, um, as like just a part of the car show. I don't want to take any shine away from Muscle Cars at the Strip. I think it's an awesome event. It's one of my favorites. And it is my favorite event on the West Coast. But because I'm a project car guy and I know so many people with project cars, it only made sense to make it part of the show. And anything we can do to help get more people out to Muscle Cars at the Strip, that's good. So Phil was on board, and we're going to actually get Phil and our friend Bill Adams, who's also part of Muscle Cars at the Strip. We're going to have another episode. I don't know if you guys remember last year when we promoted Muscle Cars at the Strip, but we're going to be doing it again this year, and we'll have them back on to talk about everything. But there really were no rules for Project Cars at the Strip at first, but we kind of outlined some simple things to join and accept the challenge. And basically it's have a project car that's currently, non-operational, not on the road, and get it roadworthy enough to be able to drive into the car show at Project Cars at the Strip or at Muscle Cars at the Strip and enter into the Project Cars at the Strip sideshow. You have to enter the car into the show, but if your car meets the qualifications for Project Cars at the Strip, you're going to be entered into that little sideshow exhibition. And Phil told me that we could have our own little section at the show, and it's going to be a lot of fun because Muscle Cars at the Strip is one of those events where it's like you got so much stuff going on at one time. You've got the racetrack, the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, an amazing drag strip, quarter mile. It's gorgeous. So we've got the Strip with drag racing happening. We've got the autocross course. We've got the car show, the vendor midway, of course, the swap meet. And now we're going to have another little sideshow called Project Cars at the Strip. Now, I'm not officially involved with Muscle Cars at the Strip, but I am an ambassador for the event. So I don't want people to mistakenly think that I'm like an employee. You know what I mean? I'm just a big fan of the event, and anything that I can do as an ambassador for the event to help it grow and just be that much cooler, I'm more than happy to do. Like I said, it's my favorite West Coast event. I love Vegas. I'm just that guy. And I've said it before, I never got a chance to go to Muscle Cars at the Strip when it was Mopars at the Strip and a really huge Mopar event. And it has since evolved into Muscle Cars at the Strip. And, being a Mopar guy, I would love to see as many Mopars as possible at the show, or at the event. But with Project Cars at the Strip, obviously it's Muscle Cars at the Strip. So GM, Ford, and Mopars are more than welcome. But Project Cars at the Strip kind of opens the door a little bit to not just, fully restored show cars, but also to people that are still in the process of building their cars that are able to bring them to the event and show them off. I love project cars. I think it's great. I have that dreamer mentality, where all my projects, I have plans for them, and project cars keep me enthusiastic about this stuff. If I just had one show car and that was it, I don't know if I could stay enthusiastic about events, but having a project at any given time always keeps me motivated. So, as long as I'm actually working on it. I've had projects in the past where I lost motivation, but so far I haven't really lost motivation on any of the projects I have now. Especially since I traded the Mr. Norm truck for this 72 344 speed Roadrunner project. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm really excited because it's not so big of a project that I'm overwhelmed. It's just one of those things where, so it's the 72 Roadrunner 344 speed car that I traded the Mr. Norm truck for. This car is already painted. It's already had all the metal work done, and the body work and paint is done, to good enough standards for me, more than I could ever afford to have done myself. So it's basically in the stage of assembly required. So I need to throw it back together. And there's a few things I need to buy, but most of the parts I have can be reused. And thankfully, Pete, the guy I got the car from, did a pretty damn good job about keeping everything organized. So what I have to do now is gather up all the parts I have for the car and see what I'm working with and see what I have. I have an entire list of things that I need to get done on the car. It's huge, and I need to have it organized now because I basically went from the front all the way to the back. I sat for a couple hours and I was looking at the car and just writing down everything that I thought needed to be done and referencing an assembly guide that I had. Thanks, Tad. My friend Tad had restored a 69 Super B basically from the ground up, and he found an assembly guide for it. And my phone keeps going off. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. Let me shut that off. But he had an assembly guide for a Roadrunner, so I was able to, or a Super B, or a 69B body, basically. So I was able to use that as a reference once I got my own list down to see how much stuff I missed. And there's a lot of stuff I missed, let me be honest. But the list is fairly strong. It's less than 100 things I need to complete, with some things like rebuilding the front suspension. That's kind of a lot of different steps. But that's one item on the list. But the project is 100% doable. And I have the money for any parts I may need. Because the engine's already done. The engine's built. It's been dynoed. It's in the car. Transmission is in the car. I just need to change the tail shaft. But it's kind of it's not a full-blown project. It's not like I went to, Wildcat Auto Wrecking and bought one of their cars and I'm going to build it from the ground up. This car has a lot of the stuff that I cannot do, at least to the quality that's done on it, like paint and body work. I'm just not that guy. And like I said, I could never afford, monetarily to buy a project car and get it into the shape that this Roadrunner is in. So it was the perfect starting point for a guy like me. So now it's basically assembling it, and I'm basically going to throw everything that I have currently, all the parts I have, I'm going to throw those back on it as long as they are usable. If they're not usable, or I feel like it's worth it to just get new stuff now versus later, I'm going to do it. But I don't want any of that stuff to hold me back from making it to Musclecars at the Strip, because I want that car to be there. Now, if I lose the challenge, I still plan on towing the car down there and putting it in the show, but obviously it won't be qualified for Project Cars at the Strip if it doesn't run. But my plan is off to a decent start. My plan was to start off with a list of things I need. Second step would be to get everything organized and cataloged so I know what I have and what I'm going to need. And then obviously I still have to take the list of items that I have to do to the car and arrange them in order of priority to make sure that the challenge is met. But yeah, I'm really pumped for this. And so far, I'm one of those guys where if I let things get too out of control, I'll get overwhelmed. But if I lay everything out with a plan, then I can stay on track. So once I get the plan in place, I'm also going to have a calendar. And this is the only way that me personally, I'll be able to make this as less stressful as possible. So I'll have the calendar, I'll lay it out as I would like it to be done, with a little bit of cushion for issues. I would like the car to be done a month ahead of time so that I can iron out all the kinks. But, Murphy's Law, right? So I'm expecting Murphy to come play some games with me. But if I have it all laid out, the plan laid out, everything I need to do laid out, and the time frames that I want to accomplish each task laid out, then that will help me stay on track to make sure that I meet my goal, because time flies. And I'm scared that I'll get so overwhelmed if I don't organize this build that I just won't meet the deadline. So that's my plan for the Roadrunner thus far. Once I get the list all ironed out, I'll go over it with you guys, and then maybe somebody will be listening to this and go, oh, he's missing this, this, and this. So I can get some tips on that. But I failed at so many project cars. I failed. And this is one that I do not want to fail at, because it's the nicest car I've ever owned. And it's a legitimate muscle car. It's a Roadrunner, 344 speed car. It's my level of muscle car, because I can't afford a 71 CUDA, shaker hood car. I can't afford a Hemi car. There's so many cool cars that I wish I could have, but I just can't afford them. Before I got this Roadrunner, I was trying to find a 70 Roadrunner project to clone a Superbird, and I just could not find a 70 Roadrunner that made sense for me to purchase. And that's why I ended up making the trade for this Roadrunner, and I let go of the Mr. Norm truck. But here we are, and I didn't want to sacrifice my dream truck, the Mr. Norm truck. I didn't want to have to sacrifice that truck and only end up failing at the project that I traded it for. So I cannot fail at this project. Now, if I fail the Muscle Cars at the Strip challenge, that's on me. But this car will be running and driving before I even think about getting rid of it, unless somebody hands me an unbelievable stack of cash, which I don't see happening. But yeah, that's my plan so far. So if you have a project car and you're feeling ambitious, then accept the Project Cars at the Strip challenge. All you got to do is tag Muscle Cars at the Strip. So tag Matt's LV. That's at MATSLV. And then hashtag MATS. Hashtag Project Cars at the Strip. Hashtag Muscle Cars at the Strip. And just give us a rundown of your project. Lots of noise in this neighborhood right now. Give us a rundown of the project. The only thing that costs is your entrance into the show. So you'll have to pay to enter the car into the car show. But if you're in the car show and it's a project car and you've tagged yourself on social media so we can see, then you'll be accepted into that challenge. And I had a crazy idea for the award to give out to the winner of this challenge. And I ran it by Phil, and he was on board, so I'm really excited. This isn't your typical trophy. I'll tell you that right now. This is something a little bit different. I think it's really cool, and I'm excited to announce it to you guys, but we're still working on it. But I don't think this has ever been done before at a car event. If it has, then I guess great minds think alike. But this has definitely never been done at Muscle Cars at the Strip, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially for the inaugural Project Cars at the Strip challenge. So if you want to enter the challenge, you can check my social media and see all the tags and stuff that you need to put on your post. But that's how we're getting cars into this little sideshow exhibition at Muscle Cars at the Strip. So if you want to be involved at Project Cars at the Strip, just make sure you tag the appropriate tags and show us a picture of your project. But I'm really excited for Muscle Cars at the Strip in 2023. It's going to be March 17th through the 19th, and it's going to be a party. I would like to talk to Phil about possibly a burnout pit, because I've noticed that, they're so popular at all these shows that I think it would be wrong to not have a burnout pit. So I'm going to see if we can make that happen. In addition to that, it has been discussed that one of the parameters for Project Cars at the Strip would be not only to enter the car in the show, but also to cruise the Las Vegas Strip in said project car. So we'd have a parade of project cars cruising the Strip, which was a great idea. But into talking to my friend Jeremy, he let me in on an aspect that I didn't really think about. And that was that some project cars aren't registered, you know what I mean, to drive on the road, but they may be able to run and drive. So it would be a shame to disqualify them for not being able to cruise down a public road. And I kind of agree with him. Maybe you get a project, maybe you don't have the title yet, or you know what I mean? Maybe it's a race car and that's your project car. So I understand. So I don't think that we're going to make it a requirement, but we are still going to organize a project cars cruise down the Las Vegas Boulevard, so we can have a bunch of project cars on the Strip. I think that would be a lot of fun, and it'll be after the event, so not during the event, so we don't miss out on the show or the races or anything like that. But it'll be like one of the nights, like Friday night or Saturday night, we'll all jump in the projects and go cruising the Strip. Those of us that legally can. So that's something we're talking about, and we're open to ideas. I'm kind of spearheading Project Cars at the Strip, so I'm basically the contact between you guys and Phil, because Phil, he's got so much work to do when it comes to Muscle Cars at the Strip that, to throw this in his lap and ask him to organize everything would be crazy, and I wouldn't want to do that to him. So any ideas that you have, please forward them to me, and I'll take them to the appropriate people, which is basically Phil, and run it by him and see what he thinks. But he's definitely on board for this, and that's what we needed, was an event organizer that saw the same vision and realizes that it's just to help grow Muscle Cars at the Strip and make it the best event that we can. The best muscle car party in the West. That's what we're doing. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully Project Cars at the Strip this year is successful and we can keep it moving for years to come. That would be great. It would be crazy if it blew up to the point where it needed to like spawn into its own event. But, obviously that's many, many years in the future. But I see this being successful, and, the more people we have involved, the better it's going to be. So if you know someone with a project that likes Las Vegas and would not mind making a fun weekend of muscle cars and debauchery in Las Vegas, tell them to join the challenge, the Project Cars at the Strip challenge, hashtag Project Cars at the Strip. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'll keep you guys posted on the project, and I'll be posting a lot to my YouTube channel. So once again, I'm sure I've plugged this a couple times, but if you haven't subscribed to Talking Mopars on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting some exclusive content on there with this project and some shorter form content on my social medias, but YouTube's going to have like long form video content, not too long, but longer form video content. And then Facebook and Instagram will probably get more like clips. So if you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe to my channel. And I think that concludes episode number 153. There goes my phone again. I'm actually in a group chat right now with some of my friends about Muscle Cars at the Strip. So I'm going to get back to that and get out to the garage and start working on cataloging all these parts so that I can see what I'm working with. I have a good idea of what I'm working with, but I really need a break. I would hate to be held back by something stupid. You know what I mean? I'm very close to just pulling the trigger and ordering a hardware kit for the entire engine bay. My phone is blowing up right now, folks. So I'll keep you guys posted on my project. You keep me posted if you want to join up with Project Cars at the Strip. Remember, tag us on social media. And
for over 10 years, Grammarly has been powered by AI technology that you can trust. With one click, you and your team can brainstorm, rewrite, and reply with personalized suggestions. Go to Grammarly.com/business teams to download for free.
We will get you into the challenge. All right? Thanks for listening. No Mopar left behind. There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars is in the books. For everything you need to know about this show, you know where to go, talkingmopars.com. And you can reach me by emailing Chris at talkingmopars.com or by leaving me a voicemail on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and you just might get to hear yourself on the show. So keep sharing those Mopar stories with me and anything else that is on your Mopar addicted mind. Special thanks to my friends at DIYHemi.com. For those of you that don't know, Blake has rebranded DIY Hemi, so although the website is still DIYHemi.com, DIY Hemi is now Sublime Technologies. So if you've been considering swapping a modern Gen 3 Hemi into your classic Mopar, then reach out to Sublime Technologies, get a hold of Blake, and tell them that I sent you. Blake has supported me from the beginning of this show, and I also support him in his mission to Hemi swap the world. Also, don't forget how important it is to keep your Mopar protected from the elements. If you need protection, don't wait. Head on over to TalkingMopars.com, click on the Affiliates tab, and go get your Mopar covered today. Before we shut this podcast episode down, if you want some Talking Mopars merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and more, check out the merch shop on TalkingMopars.com. I am working on some new merch. I said that on the last show, and I am going to let you guys know when that new gear is available. One final thing, if you'd like exclusive bonus episodes of the podcast as well as exclusive bonus videos, they are available only to my Facebook subscribers. Become a Facebook supporter today and get immediate access to those benefits as well as a monthly supporter giveaway. You can do all that by going to Talking Mopars Podcast on Facebook and clicking the subscribe button. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.